How close is a good?
I lean in, so you have to tell me if my audio is good.
Yeah, man. Ooh, la 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 la. It's because I'm so tall.
Well, you
People
know,
aren't used to a gentleman of my stature coming in here.
well, and that's why my seat is lowered. So my seat is lowered. Sorry.
Seat is,
There you go.
yeah,
Hey, we didn't put a phone book in
Oh
it. So.
yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Are we liveys? Oh snap!
Okay, cool. Thanks, Log. Thanks, Logie.
Thank you so much, Logan. Brought to you by Logan.
The world, according to Logan.
So
That's great.
Usually I can hear. It's the first time we've actually done one of these live.
Oh, great!
Because all of them have been. She's like, great. I'm the guinea pig. This is gonna be fantastic. You hear everything? Okay. Love it. Okay, so for some reason I'm not getting the feed on my phone yet. I don't know why that's happening.
Are you on the Wi-Fi?
No, maybe that's why.
I maybe go to the Wi-Fi in your settings.
But
maybe
do I need to get on a password situation?
It's wireless.
Hold on, let's see.
And it should say EastWest like 5G, or it'll just be EastWest.
EW Studio 3.
Oh yeah.
Want? And then what's a Pee-wee?
E wireless. Wireless. I don't know if it'll make a difference.
I mean, I got like 3 bars in here anyway. Oh, there's a little Wi-Fi. There's a little Wi-Fi.
The room looks good.
Do you have the actual live stream on your phone right now? Can I mute your phone just to be able to see? Is that cool? Do you mind if I keep it here? Because for some reason mine.
But what's she gonna do?
It's true. That's true. No, I don't know why. I'm signed in as me. And let me try it again. I'll close everything. Be able to. So who we got in here, Tori? Because I can't see a damn thing. This does not make any difference, as you guys know. Ugona popped in. T. Cool.
Nice.
Very nice. Steph is here. Ooh, I got us. Okay, lovely. All right, guys. Man, I'm super excited. So wonderful to be here with you and with our. I'm the guest today, but
nice.
We're all guests for each other today. Thank you all for being here. This means a lot to me. I think this is a very sort of symbolic little event that we've got going on here. So if you're on the email list, you got a rather long email last night about what we're doing today and some background on EastWest. If you're not familiar with EastWest, you're gonna be familiar by the end of this live stream. We're here at EastWest Studios in Hollywood, and we're here to talk with Candace Stewart, who is the manager, and ask her some questions and find out about what's going on in her world. So without further ado, I want to introduce Candace. So very nice to be here.
How you doing? Very happy to have you here, man.
So it's it's kind of interesting how we connected, because I think it's related to what we're doing here today. I write for the A&R Registry, as a lot of you guys know, and about 4 or 5 months ago, when this was first hitting, I spoke to Rich, and I'm like, we need to do something drastic. We had an issue coming out on Atlanta, all about Atlanta,
right?
And I was like, first off, we can't do that. There's no reason that anyone wants to hear about Atlanta right now, because no one can move or do anything outside of wherever they are. And then one of the next things, and Rich, who's been publishing the A&R Registry,
he's an old
Film
friend
and
of
TV
mine, actually.
Music Guide, and he's an old friend of mine as well. I mean, I've known Rich for as long as I've been in this business. He's absolutely incredible.
He's wonderful.
Rich Ezra. And he's also an incredible person to work with because if you say, hey, Rich, can we? He's like, sure.
Yeah. He's open-minded and creative.
And he's a caring professional guy. Like, he cares. He's always like, what can I, can I do this for you? Can I do this for you?
Well, he always wants to help the industry, you know?
So one of the first things that, I was just coming up, it's like whack-a-mole, like, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? And I'm like, we should just reach out to studios and find out who's open, what they're doing, who we can possibly include in the publications to let people know like what people are doing. And so we sent out sort of an all points bulletin email. And most people answered pretty much the same way. They're like, yeah, I'm doing a little remote, this and that, but like, we don't really have it figured out. And Candace emailed back and was like, here's what we're thinking about doing. Here's what we got. And I was like, whoa. And we got on the phone and started talking.
Nice.
And it was like, one of the first things I noticed is you weren't overwhelmed by this, and you weren't playing back the way a lot of other people were. You're like, this is happening. This is what we're doing about it. This is what we're trying to figure out. What do you remember about those first, like that first week where you're like, what the hell's going on? What are we going to do?
Well, I've said this before, and it's certainly increased since then. I've been saying it's a bad movie. That
is
like,
a bad movie.
like first there's a global pandemic, then there's police brutality and race riots, and it's like I want my money back from the movie. But I think in the beginning, like all of us, I don't think any of us knew. There's still so little information. I thought we didn't know like how long it would last and what effect it would have on all of our daily lives, and how frightening it would be. I think that the obvious thing is that people turn to music, and that music is a great healer. So I wanted to do everything I could to keep all the creators working, all the musicians. LA has the finest players in the world, not just rock players, but session players. So all those people, everybody's life was affected. So early on, and we had to shut down. But right when we could safely do so, towards the very end of May, I got a call from Pete Galley, who's the manager for Airborne Toxic Event. Yes, I realize that's an ironic band name for the event. And he's wonderful, and they're releasing a new album. The lead singer has a book coming out. So he wanted to do something that was different, authentic, and safe, and contacted me and said, well, and streaming, we've done streaming before, but never under these conditions or these criteria. But it's an ideal format, obviously, for cutting down on the number of people attending, and so that people that are not here can see the performance. And what I liked about what they did in Studio One, it's on YouTube, is it was just really authentic. Like, instead of just one person being in their living room or people being in separate places via Zoom, they were playing together. Yeah. So the band's been together. They've been comfortable rehearsing together. They've been safe together, their family. So they performed, and you got to see a little bit of behind the scenes interaction. Like, if there wasn't any glitches, but if there was some kind of small minute detail, like someone turned the wrong way or did something the wrong way, the interaction between the players was really authentic, and you got to feel like you were witnessing it was a performance, but you got to almost feel like you were witnessing a rehearsal.
Yeah, one of the cool things about the nature of live streaming for a lot of artists that moved into it recently for the first time is you get to see a less sort of staged version of them. They're like, we don't know how does this work? And there's something so cool about seeing someone you admire artistically, kind of like being human. And not really knowing how it works.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that was such a great thing. I mean, obviously, I'm going to tell you that as the manager of a historic commercial recording studio that has amazing acoustic spaces. We're in Studio 3 right now, which is the smallest room here at EastWest, and we call it the Pet Sounds room because it's where Pet Sounds was done. It sounds amazing. I don't know if you'll be able to tell from my speaking voice the acoustics of the space, but you probably will.
Can I grab the we got a little prop here.
All right.
Yes. Logan hooked us up with.
Logan's one of my assistants. Yeah, it's a cover of Pet Sounds.
Come on.
Yeah, we did a couple things with Brian. They actually did a 50-year anniversary, and they came in and they spoke, and they've done a few things. I've worked with Brian many times over the years, but they came in and did like a thing for the 50-year anniversary. But what I was going to say is that for us, for anyone in audio, all of you out there in your home studios feel the same way. For anybody in audio, when you hear a stream where the audio isn't well recorded or isn't good, you know, to those of us who are, I mean, it's like kind of like when you go to see a movie. If you're an audio person, you go to see the movie, you hear everything that's wrong. You know, if you're a film person, you see something that's wrong. So for us, it's all about hearing. So if people want to make better sounding streams, they should do it in a real studio. That's my humble opinion.
Yep. And another thing that struck me at that moment where people were kind of figuring out what was going on was, you know, you were in contact with a lot of the other major studios in town, and you guys were working. I don't think people necessarily that, you know, operate or live and kind of spend a lot of time in major commercial studios realize that you guys kind of talk a lot. And you're like, what are you guys doing? What's going? How?
Well, you know, I have to say the LA community is unique that way. Okay. I mean, love you people in New York, Nashville, love all of you. Atlanta, of course, everywhere, Miami. But I will say that the LA studios, though we are deep competitors,
right?
Well, we're all friends,
right.
You know, and I've been doing this for a really long time. I'm blessed to do what I love. And for example, Paula Salvatore, who runs Capitol, we've been friends and competitors for 30 years. I just saw her Friday night, actually. I went down to Manhattan Beach and had dinner with her. But yeah, we checked in with each other just to see and to make sure. And I think that, you know, all of us came up with what we thought were even more stringent protocols to protect our clients and our staff.
Yep.
And then happily, the AFM and other organizations, NARAS, Maureen Droney at NARAS, we all talked to each other and said, okay, how can we protect everyone? How can we still create safely and protect everyone and make everyone feel secure, you know? And so we all worked together, and they came up with a lot of guidelines. They work with the county.
Yep.
And God bless them. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it takes a village, and
it takes the village. That's what I'll tell Tina and Jeff Greenberg.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that's happened for the whole industry that we've started to realize, like it's like that, you know, spider web analogy. Like we're all on the spider web, and when we solve something as complex as this, we solve it together. By the way, I just am now kind of peeking onto the feed and stuff like that, because as you guys know, I'm terrible at doing that. Dan, thank you so much for the likes. I know it's like 10 hours late, but you're the man. Thank you so much for supporting us. It's great to see Sunray. It's great to see all you guys. If you have specific questions about EastWest, about live streaming in a little bit more of a professional capacity, about how the industry is responding to this, about safety, right?
Well, I mean,
how are we operating now differently than we were 4 or 5 months ago?
Well, some of the main things that we have all done, and the beauty of being in a space that's 15,000 square feet, like this building,
you got is room that to have
you have room to safely distance. But one of the very first things we all did, all of the studios, is we cut our per person room limits pretty drastically. The control rooms are small, not small, but I mean, they're smaller than the live rooms.
Yeah.
So we cut the control room limits to 3, maximum 4 people. So if you have a first engineer, an assistant engineer, and a client, that's kind of it. So that's been a hard adjustment for some people.
How do you bring your crew of 10 people in if that's going to...
Yeah, well, I mean, the crews for something like this streaming, we're sitting in the live room right now. And so the camera people and the streaming people, they're in the live rooms. So the live rooms are bigger. This is the smallest of the tracking rooms, and the limit in this room, I think, is 6. I'm not sure. I should know that. Studio 1, to give you perspective, which normally can hold up to a 70-piece orchestra, we dropped to 20. Studio 3 is, 1 is the biggest. It goes like this. It goes Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Baby Bear. So Studio 1 is huge. Studio 2 is more kind of like the rock room with 2 ISO booths. We dropped that to 8. We dropped this, I think it's 4 or 6. Studio 5, which is more of a mixed room, but has a booth. We limit 2 in the booth and 4 in the control room because the control room's big. So the rooms all have lounges where people can go. The main thing has been to reassure staff and clients, if at any one time there's more than the allowed number of people, which we try not to ever let happen, is that the staff person is free to leave. So if you're an assistant engineer and you can go sit in the lounge, and then if the first engineer needs you, you can come in, you can adjust the mic, fix patch bay, whatever. But it's all about, it sounds so corny, but it's all about teamwork. It's always been about reading the room. And it's kind of more that than ever has been, because, my job is to make sure that everybody's okay. So, normally we'd be wearing masks, but we're sitting probably about 10 feet apart. So that's not why I'm not wearing a mask. That is why I'm not wearing a mask right now. But in general, everyone's wearing masks unless they're singing, playing a horn instrument, or eating or drinking.
You mentioned reading the room. And I want to get into it a little bit, but again, I'm trying to do better at this, guys. So bear with me.
If someone has a question, come on.
So T, thank you for the likes. Tori, thank you for the likes. Thank you guys for sharing this with your friends. Buggy Bad, appreciate it. For all you guys, Sunray, thank you for sharing this with your friends as well. This is a work in progress, and I'm learning slowly how to sort of take care of you guys and bring you into this. You mentioned reading the room. To me, when I think about the experience of being in a really top tier recording facility, and I think about where the industry's moving into with this kind of virtual live stream, you can do it from anywhere in the world, and you can get certain things done. The thing that I feel could get buried in the mix of those solutions is understanding how to read a room, the energy in the room when you have artists and engineers, and there's a vibe. Everyone throws that word around like it, but it's because it's such a hard word. But that ability, and also the social fabric, the of
collaborative
studio.
nature of things. I mean, one of the things about a commercial facility, people that are working at home, so many of you so incredibly talented, all my friends that are mixers out there, you guys are rocking it. But I think that I don't know that there's an engineer alive, especially a tracking engineer, that wouldn't rather be in a studio with the musicians and having the musicians play off of each other and getting that dynamic that comes, and a spontaneity that comes, the creative spontaneity that happens when people are collaborating together. But what I was going to say, one of the things about a commercial facility that has changed during this pandemic, one of the things about being here is that, you could be in the hallway and maybe Boys to Men are in one room, or let's say the Foo Fighters in the other room, or Lady Gaga's in the other room. And you would normally walk through the hallway or through the lobby, and you would see people and you'd have a chance to say, "Oh, hi," or "What are you doing?" Dave Grohl did a little 5-minute short animated film about the making of concrete and gold. And if you guys, I'm going to give a shout out on that, because he talks about that, and he talks about other people that were working in the other rooms at the time that had nothing to do with their record that he pulled in.
Wow.
Like Justin Timberlake, or Sean from Boyz II Men, or he pulled them in and got them to sing on the record. So that's something that happens. And because of this situation, because everybody's, and rightfully so, nervous, wearing masks, staying apart, I think, that has changed somewhat, which is a drag, but people are still here. We're just wearing masks and walking by and going like, giving a thumbs up or whatever. So
what's the state of the union for the studio right now? Are you guys open? Are you taking a certain kind of session? Are you doing live streams? What do you?
We're doing all the sessions that we normally do. I mean, I always, and any interview you ever see me give, I always refer to the studio as a hotel with technology. So my job is to book the hotel. So my job is to make sure that this grand place, which has been open for over 60 years, doesn't close on my watch. So I've had to get creative, but to be quite honest, I mean, most of the sessions that we're doing, we still do hip hop, we still do scoring, because we're pretty diverse. The rooms are diverse, in size, and in application. So this room that we're in would be, you can see the piano behind us. It'd be a lot of piano and vocal, hip hop, writing, also sometimes full band. There's no isolation in this room. So the way that you would do that would be you'd embrace the bleed, we say, but you use baffles and things like that. Gobos and things like that, which are really effective. The sessions that we're booking, the main difference is just the smaller number of people in attendance. Streaming, I want to do more streaming. So if anybody from Live Nation watches this or any other format, you know, whatever, YouTube, Twitch, whatever, EastWest is your venue, baby. Come on in. All I'm saying. Shameless.
So yeah, I mean, for live streaming, does it, you know, I feel like most of what's happening falls into certain categories. You've got like sort of the ticketed model. You've got the sort of Facebook, Instagram type of model. You've got a YouNow model / Twitch type stuff.
Right.
I haven't seen a lot of like, oh, they're doing that at so-and-so studio and it really looks, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that they will do more. One thing I think for Live Nation, for example, you know, they've been doing everything. They've been doing sort of like venues. I think they did one at a drive-in, which was super cool, right? I think it started out with people in their living rooms just because that's where people felt safe. They didn't want to leave their houses. I know John Legend's done some wonderful ones, and he's amazing, and he could, you know, sing in the car and you'd freak out. But God bless him. But I think that, yeah, spread the love, you know. I mean, the smaller venues, I want to give a shout out to the live venues just because they can't do concerts. I mean, places like the Henry Fonda or, you know, the Palladium isn't that small. I would think they'd all be ideal locations for live streaming. And I know that they're really struggling because touring, I mean, all those people that are part of the touring crew, maybe they could revamp and be part of the streaming crew. You know, I mean, it's really, it sounds so corny. But like you said, it's a spider web. Yeah. So all the manufacturers, you know, Manly, UA, everybody, they've been doing well because more people have been setting up their home studios and buying gear to have better audio in their home studios and things like that. But I think everyone needs to include everyone.
Yeah, and also it reminds me of our very first Liveonlive that we did with Emma and James, who are I would say kind of the A-listers as far as music celebrities on YouNow. Right. And they, you know, first question, something along the lines of like production value of a live stream. What's the most important thing? 80% of it's audio. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I mean, you're going to be listening to it through your speakers on your computer or maybe your headphones if you're so inclined, or other better speakers.
Yeah, but you're listening to the Spotify tracks on those same devices, and you're used to a certain bar of like, this is what good music sounds like.
Yeah.
And then you go and you know, it's like if you walk into a film and it's been done on like Super 8,
right?
It's like, okay, that's cool for artistic purposes.
Yeah.
But you're still hoping that that's going to live up to
everybody. Well, we've all been spoiled. I mean, you know, we've been spoiled between THX and now Dolby Atmos. And I remember when I went to see the movie Earthquake at the Cinerama Dome before you were born, you know, and my seat shook and I could hear it and I could see it, you know what I mean? So we've all gotten technologically, happily spoiled by HD. We used to always joke in audio that, you know, we were always the redheaded stepchild because we're post-production, which basically means we're at the end of the budget for film and for TV.
But if that film doesn't sound good, it doesn't look good either.
Right. I mean, watch a movie without sound. I mean, no offense to silent movies, but it's a drag. So, well, we used to always get upset because a lot of times it would be the mic and the camera. Well, now the mic and the camera is really good, you know, and now you have HD televisions and 4K TVs and you have HD audio. So, I mean, it's all sort of happily risen together to a better standard.
Would you say that right now, if someone wanted to come in and do sessions at EastWest, do you think that this is in some ways kind of the easiest moment in the history of the studio to be able to come in and book a session?
Well, it's easiest if you're not a composer with a 60-piece string day.
Because, you know, I mean, normally it's virtually impossible. Hey, can we get a room at EastWest? Yeah, in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, I wish. No, we're generally, even at our busy, thank you for that. Even at our busiest, we'd probably be booked out like a month in advance. The one thing that's changed for me in my career was that then this is off topic, I suppose, for streaming, but video kind of killed the radio star.
Totally.
So when
no, it's very on topic.
When video budgets came into play, when I first started, and that I started late. I started in the late 80s, but my brothers were recording engineers. They worked at the record plant on 3rd Street in the 70s. So for those people, you know, it was normal to spend a year on doing an album because the budget was there. But when videos came into play, and a video was $500,000 or $1 million, that got sucked out of the recording budget. So yeah, it changed. So to come full circle, the answer is that yeah, if we're booked out a month ahead, that's good. Right now, we're getting busy again. I'm very happy to say and thank everyone for their support, all the artists that have been coming in. And I think it speaks a lot to the trust that they have in us and making sure that they're safe and that we're doing everything we can to ensure their safety. Taking temperatures, you know, sanitizer, masks, wellness questions, all kinds of things like that.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I think a lot of, you know, if studio recording was sports, this is like Olympic level, right? So I think for anyone that's watching and maybe has a home studio or has a project studio or a small commercial facility or something like that, this is where the bar doesn't really get any higher than this. So
thank you.
Maybe there's an opportunity for you to say, hey, both from the standpoint of here's what we're doing to make it really safe, but then there's also that perception level where it's like people need to feel like it's safe, and there needs to be a sense of like I've looked at all these things. By the way, I just wanted to say hi to a couple people. Goda, good to see you. Riz, good to see you. Thank you for always being here with us. If you guys have specific questions, this is an amazing opportunity to ask Candace about what's going on with EastWest. So as far as pure safety, you mentioned the mask, you mentioned the sanitizer, you know,
distancing.
Troy and I got our, you know, temperature taken. What are some of the other things that you found?
Well, little things that might not occur to you normally. We assigned, instead we have 7 bathrooms here. So we assigned bathrooms to specific rooms. So the staff has their own bathroom. Each room has its own bathroom. And because this building has 3 entrances, that also worked in our favor in a way that we never realized. Because if you're working in this room or studio 2, you can come in from the parking lot, come directly into this room, and you don't have to walk into the lobby. I mean, if the goal is to be around less people,
right,
which is unfortunately the case, then you don't have to be. You can come in, you can go here. And in Studio 2, for example, you can go out the back of Studio 2 to go to your restroom and go back into the back of the room. So you never have to. One of the things that the string dates have required of us is that it's a loop. For example, when the players come in, they don't go out the same way. So they come in, they come into Studio 1, and then they leave out of the back of the loading bay.
So there's like a path. It's like when I go to Trader Joe's, they're like, no.
Yeah, like the arrows. Yeah, it's like little arrows. And they set that up, and we basically follow whatever it is that they feel comfortable with in that sense as far as their route goes. But yeah, we're really lucky. I mean, there's things like that you never think of. You never think of like, oh, okay, well, it's a big building. Oh, okay, it has 3 entrances. The Studio 5 has an outdoor deck upstairs. There's another separate staircase that goes up to that deck. So, you know, Miguel or whoever wonderful artist is working in there, they can come in, walk up the stairwell, hang out on the deck, go to their own private bathroom, come down the stairs, go into their studio, and never have to walk by anybody. So.
By the way, Snacks on Snacks, thank you very, very much for your gift. That was amazing. Thank you. To me, when I translate that to a home studio or something in that realm, it makes me think, well, usually when you think of the footprint of your studio, you just think of your desk and the monitors, and that's my space, my workspace, and I got a little chair right here, whatever.
Right.
No, you have your whole apartment, perhaps.
Yep.
You've got maybe, you know, even areas outside.
Your driveway, your patio.
Right. And all of that allows for that space to be able to have not just the reality of safety, but that comfort level.
Well, and a place to go relax.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these rooms have lounges, and the lounges are private. So, and you know, anybody who's been into a commercial studio knows that all studios, the studio has a lounge where the person can go relax, take a break, etc. So we disinfect the lounges, we disinfect the bathrooms. I mean, every 30 minutes we're in there doing everything. I found this amazing stuff at Home Depot, and it was this hospital grade citrus-based antiviral disinfectant. And I found it early on in like March, and I could only get 4 bottles. I only could get 4 bottles at a time. So I would go in and I would buy 4 bottles, and I'd send someone to get 4 bottles. So I ended up with, you know, like 40 bottles of this stuff. So, and it doesn't smell gross, and it's really effective. So, so that was good. I mean, I know a lot of people have talked online about the proper way to disinfect your gear. You know, my consoles are 60 and 70 years old.
Is it isopropyl alcohol?
It is, but then also, yes, but also then the alcohol can degrade the plastic. You know, you have to be really careful about certain knobs and things like that. So you just have to be careful. Obviously, you know, 70%, 90% alcohol is key.
So not full, but like...
Yeah, you just have to be careful. You know, you have to be careful when you're cleaning stuff. And the staff, our chief engineer Lawrence Malchos, he's a genius. He came up with protocols for cleaning everything in the studios with the patch bay, the cables. You know, think about it. You got to clean the mic. You got to clean the cable. You got to clean the stand. One of the things that really helps is not having too many people touch it. You know what I mean? So you got one assistant. He goes in. He touches it. He's the one at the end of the day that disinfects that room. He cleans the cables. You know, the players are there, obviously. But...
So we have an interesting question that's kind of off topic and on topic at the same time. OG Runaway, sorry, is basically asking, and it's an interesting question, especially the way you're kind of phrasing it. I like it. It's kind of like, how do you get, you know, the typical music project is probably trying to do things for as economical an approach as possible. How do you, his question is basically, how do you convince people to invest more? What's your marketing strategy? What's your sort of presentation of what you're doing so that people that have that budget can say, okay, that actually makes sense for me to do it? And I want to tie it back to what you were talking about a second ago. I think, again, in top tier studios, it's like going to the Four Seasons. Every single detail is dialed in exactly. The aroma in the room, where things are placed, the lighting, and even things like when I'm hearing you say about protocol, I think if you have those clear things, you say, we've thought through this. Here's how you're going to flow in and out of the room. Here's where you can hang during the rest breaks, whatever. When you you show that you've thought through those things, that's a premium experience that I think people are more comfortable saying, well, let's
I mean, more behind I mean, all of the top tier studios, like I said, we're friends and competitors, but we're businesses. So, you know, one of the first things I did back in April was I came up with a safer in the studio rate sheet, and it's slightly discounted. You know, we discounted a little bit. Yeah, I discounted it like kind of like 20%. So, for example, those of you who are listening, if you think, oh man, I'm never going to be able to afford to record at a place like EastWest, it depends. I mean, it's probably cheaper than you think it is. At the same time, it's not, you know, I don't want to say cheap. It's more affordable probably than you think it is.
And you guys probably have, you know, you've got like the label rate.
Exactly.
And then you've got kind of an indie rate that's evolved over
I mean,
time.
my whole career, I've worked with people for all budgets. And this is going to, I don't know, this may or may not come across positively, but I have a lot of friends. I've been doing this a long time. So my personal life and my work life have morphed. So engineers and producers are my friends. These are people that I've been working with, like Mark Needham or Jim Scott. These are people I've been working with. Don Was. I've been working with them my whole career. So if they call me up and say, hey, I have, you know, $1,200 and I need to do this date, or I have $150 an hour, of course I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? This business is about relationships and building relationships. So, and people say, oh, well, if they don't pay much this time, then they, you know, the key would be that when they can afford it, they pay more. And people say, well, that never happens. It actually totally does happen. Where if you need a favor and I let you come in for $125 an hour, then when you have a big project, you're going to call me first, you know, and if you have the money, you're going to give me the money back.
And I would wonder also, I think the caveat to that is if their experience is exceptional. In other words, if they know they're getting $1,000 session for $150 or whatever the case is, multiplied out across the hours and days, then when they're going to feel comfortable when they do have a more substantial budget saying, you know what, these guys have always taken care of me, and also they're worth that price.
Well, the service,
and they were even when I wasn't paying it.
Well, that's one thing. That first of all, the staff, they're not. It makes no difference to them what the person's paying. They're here to do their job at the same level, regardless. And my assistant Keith, who's amazing, and Sydney, who booked time with me, I always say, look, just because you don't know, this is another factor. Just because you don't know someone The Beatles did a first record. U2 did a first record.
Right.
You know what I mean? Every time that phone rings, yeah, it's exciting to work with Mick Jagger and John Legend, but every time that phone rings, you know that you have to treat that person the same way. Everyone must be treated. You never know who
you're talking to.
Well, everybody should be treated great. You know, everybody should be treated great and be welcomed. And regardless of what they're paying, should have a 5-star experience.
Yeah.
You know, that's sort of my foundation that I stand on in my job.
Yep. And also that community. Again, I think it's easy in the moment that we're in to think like, okay, well, I can handle this over here and you guys can do what you're doing over there. There is, even if you got someone's right here on the screen and they're technically right there and you can see them and the body language is sort of there, it's not the same
as being in space.
It's not the same as being in the same space.
Yeah, if I was looking at you on Zoom right now, I couldn't see like your lovely composure.
Thanks. I feel composed. But I mean, I'm Italian. And you're
a hand talker.
I feel much more comfortable hanging with somebody than I didn't do any of the video stuff. And the fact that I'm saying the video stuff would prove this. My mom would call me on FaceTime and be like, 6 months ago, I'm like, Mom, I'll call you on the phone. We're not going to FaceTime. I just wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
And now we're doing this twice a week. And
God bless all the platforms. I mean, for me early on, I mean, obviously we used to Skype back in the day.
Yep.
But for me, Zoom was how I stayed in touch with my staff. And they polled people recently, I think. I don't know who did this poll.
They did.
But they said, what were people looking forward to? And it was seeing their family or going to see friends that they hadn't been able to see or just hanging with people. Obviously, when we get to the point where we can hug again, I jokingly laugh that I'm going to lick people's faces because I miss them so bad. And I'm a hugger. You know, so I'm virtually hugging you people out there that I love. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. You know, we're social animals and this has been a real strain on a lot of people in so many ways, you know, so many ways. Not being able to go see your loved ones if they're elderly in a nursing home. It's heartbreaking to me, you know? So yeah. So Zoom with your people. Who is it that said call 5 people a day?
I don't know, but I love that. I heard that recently as well. And I think, you know, we've got a lot more of those sort of minutes through the day. We don't have to necessarily drive places the way we had to before and things like that to be able to just check in with people. I
mean, I'm an optimist, you know, as creepy as this is and as awful as this is. And I said it was a bad movie. I mean, we're going to be all right. Yep. You know, this virus is going to be with us for a long time. We're going to learn how to roll with it. We're going to learn more about it. God willing, it will mutate into a less virulent, less fatal version of itself, like SARS and MERS did. But I think it's this, what I don't want to see happen with this new normal is I don't want to see people not smile at each other, you know, not wave at each other, not give each other that positive thing. When I'm on the bike path and I try to walk on the bike. I'm always trying to get in shape, trying to lose the same 10 pounds for 20 years. But I'm walking on the bike path. And yesterday there was a guy, older man with his mask on, and I gave him like a thumbs up, you know. I guess the thumbs up is the new smile, you know, if you can't see their face.
Right, because you just, like, what's going on
you just see someone's eyes. So I would say to anybody who's out there who's creative or you're a creator, you're an artist, whether you're starting out or you're established, you know, don't get depressed. It's going to be okay.
Yeah,
call me up. Come on in. You know,
it is kind of a head game that we're in, and there are days where I just kind of go, "This is surreal. Like, is this really happening?"
Yeah, it is kind of. You know, I went to the doctor recently. I injured my ankle a while ago, and I went to see my doctor. He's great. And he was wearing a mask, and he said, "Isn't this crazy? If you'd have told me this was going to happen a year ago," he said, "I would have thought it more likely that aliens were going to land in LA."
Yeah, I remember I was driving with my girlfriend
from outer space
about 3 months ago, and there was some article that she was reading that there was a guy who had written a novel that was called something, and it was all about a pandemic, and it was all, and they wouldn't sign it because they said it was like too far fetched, and there's just people, it's not even believable. And so now, of course, there's some
movie I just watched on Netflix the other day where it's like, you know, Chris Pine and I don't know who else is in it, and there's a global pandemic, and they leave a city to go to the desert, and then I didn't even watch it because some dark and evil force occurs in their road trip. I'm like, I don't want to see that. But movies like this, you know, post-apocalyptic movies have been around for a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and Zombieland. you know.
Man, I hope it doesn't move into zombie land.
Definitely not. We do not want that to happen.
No zombies.
So, yeah,
hard no.
Be of good cheer. The other thing I think is that people are writing a lot.
Yeah.
You know, if they can't tour, they're writing. So we're starting to experience an explosion of creativity. I mean, Spotify has been doing such great stuff. They do, you know, Spotify singles. My friend William Garrett is amazing. He's an incredible mixer. He lives in New York. You know, he was one of the first people I checked in with. Super talented guy, super cool guy. And I'm like, are you okay? How are you doing? So he has a room at Electric Lady. He's been safe and going in by himself. But, you know, he was walking 10 miles, walking the streets of Queens and, you know, Brooklyn. I'm like, dude, you need to get in the studio. You're going to go nuts.
Right.
You know, so I say get outside. But I say also create.
Yep.
Those of you who are writing, don't despair. You're going to have a chance to record it. Those of you that can't tour, we're going to figure out a way for you to reach your fans until you can tour. Those venues where you're not getting live concerts, maybe we can do streaming with you. You know, I was thinking and I was hoping that the Hollywood Bowl would figure out a way to do their season. 98 years.
Yep.
98 years they've been open. And I thought, how cool would it be to have the orchestra or a smaller orchestra distance, and then people could subscribe and zoom in. And I know it's not the same experience, but it's still supporting, you know, and that's the key. The key is to support. You know, you come here and record safely, come here and stream safely, go to any venue and stream safely, you know? Stay connected.
I love, there's a comment here, OG Runaway made also that, you know, you have to have more faith in your abilities than ever. And I think one of the things that I loved about our conversations over the last few months is that I've never spoken to you and heard a sort of, oh shit, in your voice. You're always like, what's going on, Pete? What are you doing? Here's what we're up to. I just spoke to so-and-so. You know, it does require a certain maybe extra level of like, I guess faith is the right word.
Faith is the right word.
You know?
I mean, I'm not going to proselytize on any specific religion, but I definitely have faith, and I always have. And I'm a happy person, you know, I'm an optimistic person. And there's been a lot of people younger than me that I've been worried about. You know, when I said a second ago about go outside safely. Like there were people that were not leaving their houses and they were going a little nuts, you know, and I'm like, look, go get some fresh air. You know, I went to the beach in Oxnard early on by myself. Walk down the beach, breathe that fresh air, and you can't not look at the ocean and have faith in whatever it is you believe. Because, I mean, it's just too amazing. You know, however this got here and however this planet got created and whatever you believe, you know, it's going to be all right. People are amazing. You know, I think people are good.
And I also think, and I think that the spirit of why we created this, why I created the virtual and remote guy with the A&R registry and the other publications is I also believe that there are things that are accessible to us that are solutions to some of the mountains that we're sort of contending with. There's technology that we're just now learning how to use.
Yeah.
There's ways we're creating that we weren't doing 6 months ago.
Are we gonna have
those things?
Are we gonna have VR where I'm gonna be at a concert standing next to you and we're gonna be holding up our lighters and you're gonna knock over my drink? Is that gonna happen? Because that would be awesome. You know how when you're at a concert and you're all, okay, no, sweat is not appropriate topic, but when you're at a concert and you're sweating and you're super excited or there's a mosh pit or whatever, are we going to end up with like the virtual mosh pit where you spill my virtual drink?
And how much would that cost?
Is it going to be the dime bash and, you know, it's all headbanging and heavy metal and, you know, I'm going to be going like this and you're going to run into me?
Totally.
Because I hope, as long as I don't virtually get hurt.
Virtual mosh pit?
Because I'm older now.
Dude. How much would you spend for
the Vosh pit? That's what we're going to call it.
The Vosh pit.
I don't know. I just coined that, like, by the way. If someone wants to patent that, they can patent.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference, I guess, between creating music and then performing it. And I think people have started to sort of combine the two and say, well, let's just create while we're performing. Let me ask you a question about studio energy and vibe with the live streaming thing. And this is something that occurred to me right at the beginning of all this was, do you think, you know, studios, especially these levels of studios, are sort of known for having some secrecy? You don't know who's in the room next door because you're not supposed to know until the record comes out. And there's this kind of mystique and this hush-hushness to it.
Yeah, Instagram has not always been my friend. I'll just tell you that.
And now I feel like the boundaries between the tweeting.
I call it twatting.
You can do that. If we're dropping the bombs, we're dropping. You can drop that.
Yeah, I don't twat.
Is it going to make sense to have, for lack of a better word, cameras in the studio now? And is that something that the artists are going to want, and that people are going to want to see? Somebody toying with the hook of a song. And
I think it's appropriate in a streaming situation. I don't think it's appropriate to invade someone's privacy if they're not streaming. And I think the way that you keep it sort of, their privacy, the Airborne Toxic event, they promoted that event.
Right.
They extended the invitation to that event. It was free. It was on YouTube. But they extended that event. Events where you have to pay to sign in or whatever, that's fine if that's what you need to do for your platform or whatever. I'm not against that. I think that's fine. A subscription-based model would be fine. But I think that to answer your question, yes, we always protect people's privacy. No, we don't ever tweet anything in real time. Actually, it's a fireable offense if you work for me and you post something in real time about someone who's here on Instagram or Facebook, because part of our job, job is to protect their privacy. Classic example years ago, I've worked with AFI many times. Someone found out they were here, and poor Davey, who was trying to go outside and go, get a Coke across the street or whatever, buy a soda, and he got kind of accosted. Well, we didn't leak it, so that's the important part. But if you come here, your privacy will be protected. We will not do anything you don't want us to do. And I think that with streaming, even if it's happening live in real time, by the time they're done streaming the concert and all the fans or paparazzi has showed up, they're probably going to be done.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I mean, we've had issues with paparazzi in the past. I've had to go out and yell at them hanging up. There's a building behind us. There's actually a barbed wire on this, and
around the building.
They would, just in the back on the side of our parking lot. There's a fence and there's barbed wire on the top. And I had one really smart aleck paparazzi guy. I think he was chasing who was an English artist. It wasn't Lady Gaga. Gosh, I can't believe I can't remember her name. Wonderful female artist, and she was in her car in the parking lot, and our parking lot is gated, safe, secure. She pulled in, and this guy was like up on the rooftop of the trying to mess with her. And I went out and I said, get the hell out of here. What are you doing? This is private property. So I kind of, me and my staff, because we're so formidable, we went out there and we're like, get the F out of here, dude. You can't be here. It's private property.
People get crazy for music.
Dude. There's a thing in Hollywood called BID. It's the Business Improvement District. And these are basically like, they're kind of like cops on bicycles. And they're cool because they help make sure, like if someone's getting, and the regular cops too, but if someone's out front walking down the street or walking down Sunset and somebody tries to snag their purse, or in this business district, all of the businesses here, the restaurants, the studios, United's down the street, Sunset Gower's down the street, Netflix, Technicolor, they sort of make sure that nobody messes with anybody in our little area in Hollywood. God bless you guys.
Yep. And they can scoot around a little easier on those bikes.
They're on bikes, or on foot.
So do you guys, if you have any questions, any specific other questions for Candace about things that
so it's affordable, it's safe, and it's private. Okay, there you go.
Where do you think things are going to be in 6 months?
Blowing up. Blowing up in the sense that I think we're going to be really busy. I've been talking to my friends again. This speaks to the unfortunate aspect of a lack of live touring, which musicians, when they can't tour, they create. They want to record.
Yeah.
So normally the summer would be a slow time. And we're finding that even under these restrictions and these safety protocols, that we're getting quite busy again. We're all certainly hoping that that all the numbers go down, and that by the fall, which is also normally a heavy touring time, that we will be recording. I would love for people to be able to tour again. So at a year from now, if people could tour again, even if the venues have reduced capacity, I don't want them to go out of business. Like I don't want restaurants to go out of business, but if they can still make money, I think one thing that'll happen is ticket prices are going to go up.
They're going to go up?
Oh yeah. I think that's going to happen. I mean, maybe I'm going to be wrong. I don't know. But I would think if you have reduced capacity at your venue, how would you survive if you didn't charge more for your ticket? Now, this is where you sponsors come in. You big sponsors.
Yeah, no,
you're
I
listening
think
to
that's
this.
Really important,
you big sponsors need to come in and support these live touring things so they don't have to raise ticket prices.
Yeah.
But, and it may be the download. It may be that everything goes up slightly.
Yeah.
You know, so people can survive. But if that's the case, you know, support it. You know, spend that extra money, you know. So I think live touring will come back a year from now. I don't know that I will go back to the 60-piece orchestra in Studio One. It definitely won't happen by January, and I don't know if it will ever I don't know if it will happen in a year.
I wonder if that's going to affect how people score movies, and it'll be like, well,
you know
maybe
a lot of composers have been 60, adjusting.
Maybe we'll do 20-20-20. Or whatever.
That's been happening. Okay. That's been happening,
then you cut 20, and then you cut 20, and then you cut another 20, and mix it together later.
That's actually already been happening.
Okay.
And what's also been happening is, you know, the Newman stage at Fox, the Sony stage, the Clint Eastwood stage. They're much larger. Okay. You know, so they can have, you know, 120 people. They might have to cut. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're
that big?
Yeah, they're huge.
Jesus.
They're huge. That's why we don't do. We're the Capitol and I are the largest non-scoring stage recording studio. So, for example, mine is 70 pieces. I think Paula at Capitol, she can do 55. So that's why we get a lot of stuff like
Tori's
that.
like, sponsor us.
Yeah,
our ticket's already pretty low, to be honest. But
yeah, I think that composers are already adjusting. I mean, EastWest is owned. A shout out to my boss, Doug Rogers, and to the company that owns us. We're owned by a sample library company,
right?
Which
EastWest
sounds
amazing.
Early. Huge,
a lot of you guys probably use EastWest.
Yeah. So, and people would say that when I first came back like 10 years ago, they would say like, "Aren't you worried about sample libraries, you know, dipping into your live business?" And I was initially, but it turned out to be the opposite.
No, it's quite the opposite.
Yeah, it turned out to be that
the live shows.
Yeah, well,
totally.
It's if you're a composer and you're working at your house and you're doing mock-ups for a movie, and then you get the movie or you get the gig, and you can afford to come into a real studio, you want to go into the room where it was recorded.
Yep.
So you want to go into a larger room and record real string players.
Tori had a great question that I think is a cool one to be able to ask you. So, you know, a lot of the people watching are either have some background in audio engineering or producing or writing or playing an instrument. Maybe you have an interest in learning how things work at a studio, maybe even working at a studio, commercial studio. What you know, you've seen people come through these doors and do well, and what would you say is kind of like, here's how this works, guys?
I'll lay the trajectory out for you.
Lay it out.
So I work with a lot of schools. I'm really fortunate. I work with when I started, they didn't have schools, and I actually started as an assistant before I was a booker. I have 3 older brothers. They're engineers. I mentioned that to you. 2 of them still are. My brother Steve's in Seattle. He teaches at a school. My brother Rick's in Hawaii. He's a performing blues musician. My third brother, they're all older than me. My third brother David's a photographer, but he also worked in a studio. The trajectory has never changed. It was a journeyman's profession. It still is, in the sense that you learn by doing. The schools,
and you have a mentor.
You have a mentor. Model. So the schools which now exist give the basics and the fundamentals of audio, you know, electronics theory. That's one thing I will emphasize to everyone. When you go to a recording school, which I think you should, and you have to, I bring on interns from the recording schools. It's usually a very short 1-month free internship. It has to be for completion of academic fulfillment. That's the law in California.
Yep.
I work with Berkeley. I work with the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences in Tempe, Arizona, of which I am the chairman of their advisory board. I work with Blackbird Academy, amazing school. All these schools have come to the studios, and most of the people who run them, obviously the teachers are engineers, or they're techs, or they're live sound guys, or they're gaming guys.
But even to get an internship, you've got to come in with that 1 or 2 year of background of fundamentals.
Well, you got to go to school. You got to go to school.
Yeah.
I don't really hire anybody that hasn't gone to school. Yeah. And I don't bring on an intern that hasn't gone through school.
That's big. So, that you won't even get in the door to be able to get
you got to go
started unless you've got the chops to be able to know.
Well, you have to get the basic fundamentals, you know.
And I think a lot of people that are intrigued by this world don't understand. Well, can't you just sort of intern and sweep floors and help out. And
well, you'll still be doing that.
I mean, well, that's not that you won't be sweeping floors in your first stages of doing this.
No, you got to go to school.
You need to have a background and it's probably as much about having that commitment to the craft as it is the background itself, right?
Well, I mean, I give a speech to everyone I interview. So I was going to give you the trajectory. It's you go to school, whether it's a trade school or whether it's UCLA or whatever, and you get to the end of that program where you have your internship portion. And I always tell people it's sort of like when you're a doctor and you're going and you're learning and you're, you're doing your rounds. You're a resident. You're a resident, right? And you're still learning. You're in a teaching situation, a learning situation, and then you're actually in the operating room holding the head in your hand. So I always say that becoming an intern, then becoming an assistant engineer, then becoming a first engineer, being in the room is different than being in the classroom. First of all, there's a lot of troubleshooting. There's a lot of on the fly, like we said, reading the room. I'm a huge champion of engineers. I think they're the unsung heroes of all the music we've been listening to for our entire lives. But they're the fifth or sixth member of the band for sure, and they don't always get the credit that they should. People who think you don't need an engineer, rethink that whole concept. You need somebody. You wouldn't get on a train if somebody wasn't driving your train, okay? So that's my other analogy. It's like appreciate the engineer, appreciate his intelligence, appreciate his contribution, let him do his thing, work with him, producers as well. Yep. So the trajectory is you go to school, you get to the internship part, you send me your resume, or your teacher calls me, or I reach out to the school when I need somebody.
Yep.
And impressing your teacher is really important because the teachers will say, yeah, this guy's not right for EastWest, or this guy's really cool. And then I interview them, and I can only hire so many people. I mean, I have a staff of 20 people, but at any one time, I really only ever have one intern. Right. So, and I don't like to use slave labor. So I try to make sure if I'm going to bring you on as an intern, that I'm going to have a spot for you. Yeah. Well, then I'm going to have a spot for you to hire you for a job.
Right.
So all of you out there listening, if you want to send me resumes, you can, but I am full right now. Right now,
but but it
changes all the time.
That changes all the time.
Yeah.
We got 4 minutes because we got a hard stop because life goes on at EastWest.
Yeah,
and we got
sessions
in here to do.
Yeah.
Steph had a really cool question. When was the last time you fangirled on an artist?
I think I just did it with Dave Grohl, didn't I? Didn't I just
you
say
did. You did. You definitely did.
I mean, I've worked with a lot of artists in my career.
You do.
And I have been really blessed to work with some, Tom Petty, and I miss Chris Cornell. God bless him. Yeah. So many people.
Too.
Oh, I miss somebody so much.
That was hard for me.
So many amazing people. Any of you that happen to listen to this, if you've ever recorded here, and I'm not mentioning your name, just know that I love you all. I'm a fangirl for all of you. But I mean, I grew up in the 70s, so the kind of music that I like, I'm not a big. I don't know that much about hip hop. I think it's cool. I like it. I think it's the pop of now. I like RZA because I work with him in the way back. But I mean, I'm a woman, I have crushes on men. I'm a straight woman. There you go. And I'm married. But I just like, and if you're friendly, like if you're cool, I was going to say that the staff at any place, like think about when you go to a restaurant or you go to a hotel and you walk in and you're polite to the staff, and you're famous. And of course they're going to love you. You know what I mean? It's like, or Lady Gaga, she's wonderful. She's super, super sweet. Miguel's amazing. I mean, he's the nicest guy on the planet.
Yeah.
So I don't fan crush too often. I mean, I'm sort of known for not being starstruck because my other line is I always say that everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time, unless you're really skilled and can jump into both sides of your pants. I don't know. Maybe there's people out there that can do that.
Notwithstanding.
But, I mean, I love the Foos. I think they give it all at their live show. I mean, I didn't even know that much about them before they came and recorded here. I knew the hits, but that was it.
Right.
I love the Stones. I love all the people you think I'd love, Floyd. There are those people in my career who've been less than super nice, but they're very few and far between. Everybody's really nice. When they come here, they're nice because they're doing what they want to do. Artists come here and they get to record and they're happy. They're in their happy place.
But I also think it's Tori is mentioning like kindness is key, and I think
oh yeah,
I think energy. I think part of the role of a great studio is to create a space where making things feels easy. And I know you've done a really good job of that over the years.
It's my staff, dude. They're amazing.
Yeah, but that's a reflection of you. It always comes back to who's sort of running stuff. And
here's hoping.
More than anything else, Candace, I appreciate your energy.
Oh, thanks.
I think that's something that is very contagious in a good way. And
that we have to
right, because now we have to emphasize. But I think, to your point a couple of minutes ago, I think continue to do that with yourselves. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah, be contagious with your kindness.
Be contagious with your kindness. I think that's a good kickoff point. So thank you guys for being a part of this. Thank you guys for
create
for the questions, and OG, thank you for your comments. That was some good stuff. Thank you guys all for the likes. Hit me up with anything else that you think would be interesting for us to bring onto this. And we got to jump. So love you guys. Thanks so much. Be safe. Be well. See you soon. See you Friday.